The night sky over London blazed with a terrible beauty. The city, cloaked in darkness, was intermittently illuminated by the eerie glow of searchlights and the fiery explosions of bombs. It was a scene of both awe and horror, a testament to the relentless onslaught that Londoners faced, night after night. Bombs rained down, turning buildings to rubble. The once bustling streets were now scenes of devastation, with homes, businesses and landmarks reduced to ruins. The air was thick with smoke and dust, and the ground shook with each new explosion. The destruction was indiscriminate, affecting rich and poor alike, leaving no corner of the city untouched. The German Luftwaffe, relentless in its assault, sought to crush the spirit of the British people. Their strategy was clear: to break the morale of the civilian population and force the British government into submission. Night after night the bombers came, their engines a constant drone of impending doom. The skies were filled with the ominous silhouettes of enemy aircraft, a stark reminder of the ever-present threat. This was the Blitz, a period of intense bombing that tested the very core of British resilience. Families huddled in makeshift shelters, listening to the distant thunder of bombs and praying for the safety of their loved ones. The streets, once filled with the sounds of daily life, were now eerily silent save for the occasional wail of air raid sirens and the distant rumble of explosions. Amidst this maelstrom, a figure of unwavering determination emerged. Winston Churchill, the newly appointed Prime Minister, became a symbol of hope and defiance. He walked through the rubble-strewn streets, his presence a reassuring sight for the beleaguered citizens. His very demeanour exuded confidence and resolve, a stark contrast to the chaos around him. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister, rallied his nation with a potent blend of defiance and hope. His speeches, delivered with a gravelly voice and unyielding conviction, became a source of inspiration. He spoke not just to the British people, but to the world, articulating a vision of resistance and ultimate victory. His words were a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. "We shall fight on the beaches," he declared in one of his most stirring speeches. "We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." These words, delivered with unwavering resolve, galvanized the nation. They were a promise, a vow that no matter the cost, Britain would stand firm against the Nazi threat. His words, broadcast across the airwaves, resonated with a profound sense of purpose. Families gathered around their radios, hanging on to every word. In those moments, the distance between the Prime Minister and his people vanished. His voice, filled with determination and resolve, became a source of comfort and strength. It was a reminder that they were not alone in their struggle. Churchill's message was clear. Surrender was not an option. He spoke of the sacrifices that would be required, the hardships that lay ahead, but also of the ultimate triumph that awaited. His speeches were not just words, they were a call to action, a rallying cry for a nation under siege. They instilled a sense of duty and purpose, a belief that together they could overcome any obstacle. He understood the gravity of the threat posed by Nazi Germany. The stakes were nothing less than the survival of Britain and the preservation of freedom. In the war rooms, surrounded by maps and military advisors, Churchill made decisions that would shape the course of history. He was acutely aware of the challenges, but he faced them with a steely determination and an unshakable belief in victory. He also recognized the indomitable spirit of his people. Despite the bombings, the loss and the fear, the British people stood resilient. They adapted to their new reality, finding strength in community and solidarity. In bomb shelters and on the streets, there was a sense of unity, a shared determination to endure and to fight back. This spirit of resilience was a testament to their courage and fortitude. The Blitz was a crucible that forged a profound bond between Churchill and the British people. His visits to bomb-affected areas, his interactions with ordinary citizens, and his unwavering presence in the face of danger endeared him to the nation. He was not just a leader, he was one of them, sharing in their struggles and their hopes. This bond was a source of strength, a foundation upon which the nation's resolve was built. His leadership, characterized by courage and resolve, provided a beacon of hope in the darkest of hours. Churchill's confidence was infectious, his belief in victory unwavering. He embodied the spirit of defiance, a refusal to bow to tyranny. His presence was a constant reminder that no matter how dire the situation, there was always hope, always a reason to fight on. The Prime Minister's unwavering belief in victory, articulated with eloquence and conviction, steeled the nation's resolve. His speeches were more than just words, they were a lifeline, a source of strength and inspiration. They reminded the British people of their shared purpose, their collective strength, and their unbreakable spirit. In the face of unimaginable adversity, Churchill's leadership was a guiding light. The Blitz, though a time of immense suffering, showcased the strength of the human spirit when confronted with unimaginable adversity. It was a period of trial and tribulation, but also of courage and resilience. The people of London, under the leadership of Winston Churchill, demonstrated that even in the darkest of times, hope and determination could prevail. Their story is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. As the Nazi war machine swept across Europe, many urged appeasement, hoping to avoid further conflict. Some believed that a negotiated peace with Hitler was the only way to avert further bloodshed and destruction. Churchill, however, held an unshakable belief. Tyranny in all its forms had to be confronted head-on. He recognized the inherent danger in appeasing dictators, having witnessed firsthand the dire consequences of such policies. The Munich Agreement, signed just a year before the outbreak of World War II, loomed large in Churchill's mind as a grave mistake. This agreement, intended to prevent war, had only emboldened Hitler to pursue his ambitions. Churchill refused to repeat the mistakes of the past, learning from history. He understood that negotiating with Hitler was futile and dangerous. The Nazi dictator sought nothing less than the complete subjugation of Europe, and any compromise would only delay the inevitable conflict and suffering. Churchill's resolve was grounded in a deep understanding of history and human nature, which guided his decisions. He recognized the insatiable ambition that drove Hitler and his regime. He knew that any attempt to appease the Nazi dictator would be met with further aggression and expansion. Churchill's unwavering conviction, often expressed in his powerful speeches, rallied the British people behind a simple yet profound idea: freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the cost. The fate of Britain hung in the balance. The year was 1940, and the world was engulfed in the flames of war. The British Isles stood as the last bastion of resistance against the relentless advance of Nazi Germany. The people of Britain, from the bustling streets of London to the quiet countryside, braced themselves for the storm that was about to come. With the fall of France, the situation grew even more dire. The swift and brutal Blitzkrieg had overwhelmed the French defences, leaving Britain isolated and vulnerable. The German war machine seemed unstoppable, and the spectre of invasion loomed large over the British Isles. Hitler turned his attention across the English Channel. He believed that by crushing the Royal Air Force, he could pave the way for Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain. The Luftwaffe, Germany's formidable air force, was tasked with achieving air superiority, a crucial step in Hitler's grand strategy. The Battle of Britain, an epic clash of air power, commenced in the summer of 1940. The skies over Britain became the arena for a titanic struggle, as the RAF and the Luftwaffe engaged in fierce aerial combat. The outcome of this battle would not only determine the fate of Britain, but also the future course of the war. The Luftwaffe, seeking air superiority, launched wave after wave of attacks against British cities and, crucially, Royal Air Force airfields. The relentless bombing campaigns aimed to cripple the RAF's ability to defend the nation, targeting both military and civilian infrastructure. The outcome of this battle would determine the course of the war. The skies over Britain were filled with the roar of engines and the crackle of gunfire as dogfights raged and bombs fell. The resilience and determination of the British people were put to the ultimate test. Against overwhelming odds, the young pilots of the RAF, immortalized as the few, took to the skies. These brave men, many of them barely out of their teens, faced the daunting task of defending their homeland. Their courage and skill would become the stuff of legend. They flew Hurricanes and Spitfires, engaging the enemy in a desperate struggle for survival. These aircraft, though outnumbered, proved to be formidable adversaries. The pilots' tenacity and the support of ground crews kept them in the fight, day after day. The Battle of Britain was a brutal test of endurance and courage, fought not only in the air, but also in the hearts and minds of the British people. Air raid sirens wailed and civilians sought shelter as bombs rained down. Yet the spirit of defiance remained unbroken. Churchill, ever present, visited RAF bases, offering words of encouragement and gratitude. His presence was a beacon of hope, a reminder that the nation stood united in the face of adversity. He understood the importance of morale, both for the pilots and the people they protected. He understood the sacrifices being made, the toll that this aerial combat took on the pilots. The exhaustion etched on their faces, the loss of comrades, and the constant threat of death weighed heavily on these young men. Yet, they continued to fight with unwavering resolve. His leadership, a blend of strategic vision and empathy, proved vital. Churchill's ability to inspire and lead by example galvanized the nation. His decisions, made in the war rooms, were crucial in directing the course of the battle and ensuring that Britain remained defiant. Churchill's speeches, infused with his characteristic eloquence and determination, instilled a sense of purpose in the pilots and the nation. His words resonated deeply, reinforcing the belief that they were fighting for a just cause, for freedom, and for the future of civilization. The Battle of Britain, a testament to the bravery of the few, ultimately ended in victory for the RAF, marking a turning point in the war. The skies over Britain were secured, and the threat of invasion was averted. This hard-fought victory became a symbol of hope and resilience, a beacon for all those who stood against tyranny. With the threat of Nazi aggression looming large, Churchill understood the need for a united front. The world was on the brink of a catastrophe, and the stakes had never been higher. The Nazi regime, with its expansionist ambitions and brutal tactics, posed an existential threat not just to Europe but to the entire world. Churchill, with his keen sense of history and strategic foresight, knew that this was a battle that could not be won by Britain alone. He recognized that Britain alone could not defeat Hitler. The relentless bombings of British cities, the strain on resources, and the sheer scale of the Nazi war machine made it clear that a broader coalition was essential. Churchill's speeches rallied the British people, but he also knew that words alone would not be enough. The survival of Britain, and indeed the free world, depended on forging powerful alliances. The formation of the Grand Alliance, a historic partnership between Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, stands as a testament to Churchill's diplomatic skill and unwavering commitment to defeating fascism. This alliance was not just a military necessity, but also a remarkable feat of diplomacy. Bringing together nations with such divergent ideologies and interests required not only strategic acumen, but also a deep understanding of human nature and political realities. The alliance was an unlikely one, born out of necessity. The democratic West and the communist Soviet Union had little in common, and their leaders had vastly different visions for the post-war world. Yet the urgency of the moment and the shared goal of defeating a common enemy brought them together. It was a partnership forged in the crucible of war, where survival depended on cooperation and mutual support. The ideological differences between the democratic West and the communist Soviet Union were profound. The West championed individual freedoms and democratic governance, while the Soviet Union was built on the principles of Marxism-Leninism, advocating for a classless society under a single-party rule. These differences were not just theoretical, but were deeply ingrained in the political and social fabric of each nation. Despite these profound differences, the leaders of these nations understood that the threat posed by Nazi Germany was far greater than their ideological disputes. However, Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin recognized that their shared enemy posed a far greater threat. The Axis powers, with their aggressive expansion and brutal tactics, threatened to engulf the world in darkness. The leaders of the Grand Alliance put aside their differences, focusing instead on the common goal of defeating fascism. Their meetings were often tense, filled with strategic discussions and negotiations, but they were united by a shared sense of purpose. Together, they pooled their resources and coordinated their military strategies, ultimately leading to the defeat of the Axis powers. The combined might of the Allied forces, with their diverse strengths and capabilities, proved to be a formidable force. From the industrial might of the United States to the vast manpower of the Soviet Union and the strategic resilience of Great Britain, the Grand Alliance brought together the best of each nation. Their coordinated efforts on multiple fronts, from the beaches of Normandy to the streets of Stalingrad, turned the tide of the war. The Grand Alliance was not without its tensions. The leaders often clashed over strategy, resources, and post-war plans. The pressure of the war, combined with their differing visions for the future, led to numerous disagreements and conflicts, yet despite these challenges, they managed to maintain a united front. The strength of their alliance lay in their ability to navigate these tensions, finding common ground and working towards their shared goal. The differing ideologies and post-war objectives of the three major powers created friction. Each leader had their own vision for the world after the war, and these visions often clashed. Churchill was deeply concerned about the spread of communism, while Stalin sought to expand Soviet influence in Eastern Europe. Roosevelt, on the other hand, aimed to establish a new world order based on democratic principles and international cooperation. These differing objectives led to intense negotiations and sometimes heated debates. However, Churchill, through his diplomacy and personal relationships with Roosevelt and Stalin, managed to hold the alliance together. His ability to communicate, negotiate, and sometimes compromise was crucial in maintaining the unity of the Grand Alliance. Churchill's charisma, combined with his deep understanding of both his allies and his adversaries, allowed him to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape of the time. His personal rapport with Roosevelt and his cautious but respectful relationship with Stalin were instrumental in keeping the alliance intact. The success of the Grand Alliance in defeating Nazi Germany stands as a testament to the power of unity in the face of a common enemy. It was a victory not just of military might, but of collaboration, diplomacy, and shared resolve. The defeat of the Axis powers marked the end of one of the darkest chapters in human history and the beginning of a new era. The Grand Alliance showed that even the most unlikely partnerships could achieve great things when united by a common purpose. It also highlights Churchill's ability to navigate complex geopolitical landscapes, forging alliances that transcended ideological divides. His leadership during this critical period not only helped to secure victory in the war, but also laid the groundwork for the post-war world. Churchill's vision, determination, and diplomatic skill were key factors in the success of the Grand Alliance, and his legacy continues to inspire leaders facing their own challenges today.